So, it's the late 1990s to early 2000s. It's 3 p.m. Your school bell has rung. You're dashing out the classroom. You're begging your automan to drop you off first. You want to make it before that 5:30 p.m. mark. You grab your chips, you grab your snacks, and you put on 10 sports. And then the fun begins. Now the UFC has very little command over the Asian market, so I'm gonna go and explain what the UFC is for those who don't know. You know how in wrestling there's all this hype, there's all these maneuvers, there's all this, melodrama. You add all that, but you add kicks, you add punches, you add jiu-jitsu, you add wrestling, you add grappling, you add boxing. That's what you get with the UFC. An exciting high adrenaline sport that is 10x the amount of excitement that the WWE brings. The UFC may be a $4 billion business today, but it had its humble beginnings. After buying the UFC in early 2000s, Dana White, Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta made an initial investment of $50 million into the UFC, and it failed. So, today, the company is worth $4 billion. How did they get there? That is the subject for today's video. How the UFC went from 50 million in debt, how they used branding and marketing to where they are today. Let's begin. Back when we were in school, pro wrestling, watching WWE, WWF wasn't the most encouraged thing in our households. Some parents allowed it, but most parents were like, "ये चिंटू क्या है? ये दो लोटे चट्टी पहन के एक दूसरे को मार रहे हैं. ये तुम्हें खिलाएगा? ये तुम्हें खिलाएगा? चलो, चल homework कर, चलो." Now, how many times when that happened did you want to go to your mom or your dad and say, "Dad, Mom, you just don't get it. It's more than just a fight." It was something that was just beyond more than just fighting. We felt an emotion that they could probably not understand, and that was the problem with the UFC as well. In its initial days, nobody understood the sport, and what Dana White did was genius.
So we went in and we met with California, Nevada, New York, New Jersey, and the list goes on and on. Everywhere that had a real strong, regulation.
Yeah.
Everybody that had strong regulation, we went in and met with.
Yeah.
We educated them on the sport, and we started to open up and getting this regulated in all the different cities. And then we started to go to other parts of the world and get it regulated, and the list goes on and on. Then I had to fly from state to state.
So after Dana White realized that the people who authorized the sport, the government, the sanction boards, had no idea of what the sport is, he switched from marketing the product to first educating people. So he used education as a marketing tool to market his product. Now this is a strategy that I have learned in my young marketing career. So ideally, if I'm going to meet someone, a client, my thought process would be, who am I going to meet today? Okay, it's this person. Does this person know my product and its subtleties? Go directly into marketing. Is this person a complete beginner? Does he have no idea of what my product is? First educate, then market. You know the same Auntie Ji who wanted her son Chintu to start doing her homework? While she's asking her son not to watch pro wrestling, this is what she's watching.
ஒரு affair நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு ஒரு பொண்ணு வெளியில
How dare you bloody call my relationship with him an affair? You have no rights to talk to me about my relationship like this. Do not talk to me again. Love பண்றேனா affair.
Now if you watch Bigg Boss, I'm not gonna judge. Now if you're a foreigner who's watching this, Bigg Boss is basically India's version of Too Hot to Handle, only that it's 10% more vegetarian, 20% more melodramatic, 30% more pathetic, and 100% more depressing. But let's rule out all the judgment for now and look at it from a marketing perspective. Whether you watch the UFC, whether you watch WWF, whether you watch WWE, whether you watch Bigg Boss, whether you watch Too Hot to Handle, whether you watch two men fighting on the street, there's something that is common to note in all of these things.
This would work everywhere, all over the planet. For instance, in this country, the NFL, there's nothing bigger than the NFL. In India, cricket's huge. And then soccer is big all over the world. It's not that big here. And the list goes on and on of sports that work in other countries and don't work in other countries. The one thing that I believe would work everywhere is fighting, because it doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, or what language you speak. We're all human beings, and fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it.
Our brains, in my opinion, is wired to pay more attention to controversy, gossip, fights, violence, verbal abuses, or something along these lines. So what Dana did was very smart. He tapped into this psychology and marketed the UFC around it. And the sport, which seemed like taboo at its beginning, is now a government authorized sport. Our businesses, our ventures, our endeavors, the need to do well in our jobs, all boils down, in my opinion, to one core thing: the race to stay relevant. And if staying relevant was an art, the UFC is the Picasso of it. For any business, staying in the buzz, staying relevant is a key factor. And the UFC uses two very, very smart techniques to stay in the buzz. Can you imagine a high-profile celebrity in India who speaks his mind, who actually says what he wants without being sensationalized? Like take someone like Virat Kohli.
What do you think? I'm asking you the answer. You can't come here with half questions and half details of what happened. And also, if you want to create controversy, this is not the right place to be.
Look at that face. That is a face of a man who wants to clap back at that reporter, but he's just not being able to do so because of one thin line. And that thin line being the captainship of the Indian cricket team, a resurrected public image, and of course, 88 sponsorship deals. Coming back to the UFC, there's no restrictions on what a fighter can say and cannot say in a press conference. Of course, they control themselves to not say something that is hateful and disgusting. But there's a lot of trash talking. There's a lot of rawness. There's a lot of unfilteredness. Is that even a word? That goes into these press conferences. Now, does the UFC's business model enable this sort of a behavior? Of course it does. So they sort of have an edge by using this technique. But at the end of the day, it's a simple, straightforward, honest, raw marketing tool. The art of staying straightforward without restricting anyone to make money, to sell fights.
Who do you think would give you the hardest fight out of anybody on stage?
Right here. Right here, the hardest hitting 145 pound, the real hardest hitting 145er right here. This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't fucking move. Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Emotional marketing. Now, I'm willing to bet $1,000 if you... Now, I'm willing to bet $100, and I guarantee you that if you watch a UFC promo or a fight trailer, you will get sucked into the game. That is how their trailers and their content marketing is well made. One of the most successful strategies of the UFC has been that they market it as just not a fight. It's always more than a fight. There's a lot of narrative that goes into the making of a fight. They add layers and layers and layers of context to their marketing. The world loves an amazing story, and the UFC exploits this into their marketing. In each poster, in each trailer that you see, the fighter's nationality has always been included, where the fighter has come from has always been included, their journey, what they've been through, their all-time highs, their all-time lows. All of this sort of snowballs in your mind, and at the end of the day, you will pick a side and you will tune into the event. Now, as an extension to this, the UFC produces something called as the UFC Embedded Series. It's released on YouTube, so it's basically free to watch. Now, this is sort of a documentary that the UFC does, which markets the fighters' movements on fight week. Now, if the fight is on Saturday, they start filming their fighters 2 or 3 weeks prior to the event. You get a sneak peek into their fighters' mentality, how they're training, how they're eating, how they're sleeping, running commentaries from them, how they're feeling. Now, as fight night approaches, and as you've been sort of following their journey, following their story all along, you will most probably tune in to watch the end result, the grand finale. So, invite fans, show them the fighters' stories, show them their ups and downs, show them what they've been doing for the preparation for the fight, and at the end of the day, convert them into a paying customer. What a genius marketing strategy. Now, this is sort of an added bonus observation, if you will. Now, after every fight finishes, there's always spontaneously a post-fight interview. When the winner is high on dopamine, when the person who lost the fight is a bit sad, capturing that raw feeling is an important strategy that the UFC follows. And in most cases, the fighter who wins will say something like this.
Everything I work for fights, you're
So in most cases, the winner will call out the next opponent that he wants to fight in such a dramatic fashion. So as one event finishes, as one gate closes, there's always a buzz leading up to the next event that starts from the previous event itself. So you just can't shut a door on it. There's always some sort of a buzz, some sort of a snowballing effect that just keeps going on and on Twitter, by the media, until the next event, based on what the previous fight winner has said. So again, staying in the buzz. So that was a few of my observations about a company that I adore. Now, I know that the UFC does not have a big market in India. I hope you guys get here, and if you do, I'll be the first person to attend. And thank you, Dana White, for whatever you do and the work you put into entertaining us. And predictions for the fight this Saturday. Tony wins TKO, third round.